Paddy Pimblett has done it. He is now amongst the elite of the lightweight division, a place that so many people, as did I, did not think he could reach, and especially after the Jared Gordon performance, right? That fight showed everybody, okay, maybe Paddy Pimblett isn't on that level. He's a fun fighter, very exciting. He was a Cage Warriors champion. He has excellent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, great submissions, but lacks in a lot of different areas, right? We didn't think that Paddy could be as good as he is now, and maybe even gets better from here. Maybe one day fights for the belt, defeats some of the best fighters in the weight class. A lot of us did not think that Paddy Pimblett would be as good as he is. I thought Paddy's ceiling would be maybe at the bottom of the top 15 or something like that, like the likes of Drew Dober and Green and all these other guys would be a handful for Paddy to defeat, especially off of his performance against Jared Gordon. Win some, lose some against the veterans and other rising contenders, but never really be anywhere near title contention, and it seemed evident after that fight with Jared Gordon, who most thought defeated Paddy. His striking seemed unpolished, rugged, lack of defense making him easy to hit to the head, and weak wrestling skills to bring the fight into his domain of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where he's always been very good at. But the evolution of a fighter's abilities can be so unpredictable. Paddy Pimblett, he is now going to be in the top 10, and he is in the wings of fighting the top 5, the lightweight elite. I thought he was going to lose to Green and then Chandler, and then from there, exchange wins and losses, but Paddy improved a lot, way more than I thought he was going to. And I was wrong about his abilities, I was wrong about how good he is, but no longer, man. I see how good Paddy is now. His strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills have improved. He's not only polishing the rugged areas, but he's also making the most polished of his game even better. Great submissions, great transitions, scrambles, all of that stuff. He went for a flying triangle, which is a very risky move against someone like Chandler. I mean, Chandler's fought guys like Marching Held and other great grapplers before, so Paddy still has that athletic submission game to his arsenal, but his wrestling is a lot better, which is so rare in the sport for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter to focus on getting his wrestling better in what you would think would be a logical next step for these guys, but most focus primarily on striking over wrestling for some reason, successfully wrestling Chandler to the ground and holding strong top positions that Chandler cannot shake off, which is an amazing feat. And that combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu is going to make Paddy such a formidable force in the lightweight division. And honestly, for most of them, like Brian Ortega, and Glover Teixeira is one of the few that did it too. Ortega is now implementing more wrestling, but this late into his career is going to be tough. Paddy's already getting his wrestling up to par before he fights the top of the weight class. Ortega fought the featherweight elite before he worked on his wrestling. Paddy's doing the opposite. He's getting ready for those guys by being as well-rounded as he could be. And that goes into his striking as well. His striking's getting better, specifically his distance management more than anything else, to keep his opponent at range. And although Paddy still takes punches to the head sometimes, he ate a big shot from the powerhouse that is Michael Chandler, but ate it like a tic-tac. I mean, look at that. Paddy Pimblett's throwing a leg kick, and Chandler beams him to the jaw with that right hand. Flush. The perfect punch. Like, I don't think Chandler can land a more perfect shot than that. And usually fighters start skating on the octagon when they get hit by Chandler like that. And Paddy starts taunting him. He's like, is that the best you got? Chandler froze in front of Paddy as Paddy's flexing on him, taunting him, and then throws his own jab. Like, that whole time Chandler couldn't move forward, but it looked like Paddy got into his head right there because Chandler was not moving. He wasn't attacking, going forward. Usually if you land a good punch like that, you want to continue the pressure. You want to carry that momentum. But Chandler was like a deer in the headlights. And then Paddy explodes forward with the jab and lands it on Chandler, who again is just standing there. That was the moment in the fight where it looked like Chandler started doubting himself. Like, he landed that perfect shot and Paddy just ate it like it was nothing. To brush off Chandler's power is ridiculous durability. I mean, the guy's chin is crazy, but he does want to make that a habit, right? It's never good to display your chin, no matter how solid it is. Your chin should always be the last line of defense. So if Paddy's able to get his striking defense better, while also improving his offensive wrestling, that guy's going to be very hard to beat because he's huge for the weight class too. Enormous. I mean, he made Michael Chandler look small. Michael Chandler walks around like 190, high 180s. He made that guy look small, but he doesn't have to work as much on his defensive wrestling unless he's going up against Charles, right? Because Charles can hang on the ground with Paddy, or Islam Makhachev, and Arman Tsarukyan. Actually, yeah, maybe his defensive wrestling is going to be important, but maybe against Justin Gaethje, he doesn't really have to focus on that, and maybe against Max Holloway and some of these other guys, but okay, that's interesting. It's usually with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters that they don't have to really work too much on the takedown defense, because who wants to take them down? But I guess in the lightweight division it's different, because some of these guys are very good grapplers, as well as wrestlers, like Islam, Charles, and Arman. These guys can hang on the ground with the absolute best grapplers in the world. So Paddy, for this division, because he is at lightweight, it's not going to be true for most weight classes, but at lightweight, even a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter needs to have good takedown defense. But in the stand-up, his kicks are great, which fits perfectly into his improved distance management, or the way he timed that flying knee as Chandler was advancing forward, and then letting a right hook behind it as well, putting together the combination at range. It literally crossed the entire octagon From landing the knee to throwing the high kick at the end, hitting Chandler with a counter left hook on the back foot. Just great distance management work. The kicks especially are some of his best weapons in the stand-up. He's able to keep the fighter away so he can just start throwing kicks at him and stuff, and he has crushing knockout power in his hands that could throw off anyone if he lands. And that's if he lands. You know, he's still improving their striking. He's not like Dustin Poirier or Islam Makhachev or Ilia Topuria or something like that. He's still getting better at it. So Paddy Pimblett is a very good fighter and will now be tested against the best in the world. That includes the high-level kickboxing fueled by an overwhelming pace and the former featherweight champion Max Holloway, the evolving power striking and explosive defensive wrestling of former interim champion Justin Gaethje, the lethal offensive potency and supreme grappling skills of Charles Oliveira, the persistent and strong wrestling skills of Arman Tsarukyan, the bulldozing power, elite grappling and supreme boxing skills of Ilia Topuria, the impeccable well-roundedness and sharp reflexes of Islam Makhachev. Can Paddy hang or even surpass the lightweight elite? Who knows, but his evolution can't stop here if he wants to beat them. It's very different fighting at the top even compared to Chandler because Chandler isn't a highly technical fighter like the rest of them. He got by on his physicality and attributes and that was able to give him really good moments against some of the best in the world, but he doesn't have the fight IQ, he doesn't have the skills behind it, and he couldn't beat those guys, you know, so beating someone like Michael Chandler isn't enough. Paddy has to get better, because as he is right now, with the performance even against Chandler, I think he can be a good fight with those guys. Maybe some of them he can beat. I could see him beating Justin Gaethje, where I think you take down Justin Gaethje, and if the fight goes to the ground, that fight's over. Paddy wins easily by submission. Against Max Holloway, I mean, he's physically stronger, he's bigger, he might be able to wrestle him, successfully get him to the ground and submit him. Doesn't want to stay on the feet too much with Max, but he has a grappling to win that fight. Not saying that he would win, but he definitely has a good path to victory there. With Charles Oliveira, I would say it's the most competitive, where both guys can win in different moments. The jiu-jitsu would be very interesting between them two. I think Charles is a better striker, but Paddy does have that knockout power. Charles doesn't have the best defense either. I think Charles would win, but that would be an interesting fight. No, with Ilia, it's the kicks more than anything. It's going to be tough for Ilia, but everywhere else, I think Ilia would win. Arman and Islam are the toughest fights because they're very good on the ground. They have very strong wrestling. Paddy's not going to be able to get him to the ground. It's going to be tough for Paddy to wrestle with those guys, right? The strike with Islam is tough, but he could land some shots on Arman. The only thing is, Arman can wrestle against the best in the world. Like, he was on the ground with Charles Oliveira and still technically won the fight. He was on the ground with Islam Makhachev. He doesn't deter because he's going up against some high-low Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter, you know? So those are some interesting fights. Obviously, Islam is the toughest fight for Paddy. Then if you look at Dan Hooker and some of the other guys, I think Paddy beats them. But yeah, a lot of us underestimated Paddy Pimblett. No more. He's a very good fighter. I get excited when I'm wrong on some of these fighters because I'm able to learn and understand of how good they actually are. He didn't just win the fight. There were certain aspects of that fight that were very impressive. I was mostly impressed with his wrestling. When we saw him take down Michael Chandler, hold top position, you know, it's so hard for Chandler to get up from the bottom. I'm like, okay, Paddy Pimblett is for real. Like, he has that kind of wrestling too now. That is going to be a difference maker in a lot of these fights because his grappling on the ground is insane. To get there was always a thing with a lot of these Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, but seeing that performance, okay, maybe he could be like another Glover Teixeira, lightweight or something, or Jacare Souza, like actual good Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighters who got better at wrestling and used it against the best in the world. So Paddy Pimblett, very, very good fighter. I can't wait until he fights those guys at the top end. Should be really exciting. And who do you guys want to see him fight next? Justin Gaethje would be an excellent fight for him. So would Charles Oliveira. They could do Arman, but I think either Arman or Ilia should fight Islam next. So Charles would be a good fight. Gaethje would be a good fight. Maybe even Dan Hooker, but Chandler beat Hooker before, and then all those fights would be good. There's not really like one obvious next opponent for Paddy, but whoever that is, man, it's going to be such a good fight.